Hello, welcome back my Florida Garden Escape channel. I'm happy to have you guys here. If you're new here, welcome. We're happy to have you. Today we're going to be doing a full tour of our garden, going from our greenhouse here to the chickens, to the big garden, to the front garden, all that, just so you guys can see what the changes are looking like that we've done. Take a look, see what we got growing already, and see how the season's going to turn out for us. So let's go ahead and get to it. Before we do, don't forget to hit a like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so that way you don't miss out on any of our new videos. What do you guys say? Let's go take a look, shall we? So starting in the back area, we do have a lot of our herbs that we brought into the greenhouse. This is going to be our mint. We got our dill. Looks like our dill is also starting to flower, which is good. That means I can collect the seeds from the dill. We have some basil here. This basil, I'm not sure what's going on with it. I do need to apply some neem oil to it because it is looking pretty rough here. This is going to be our cilantro. This over here is our parsley. We do harvest it quite often. And then moving on over here, we do have our aloe. This is also where I do transplanting as well. Currently we have here our hot lemon peppers, and another set of hot lemon peppers. Looks like a few new seedlings has germinated in there that we'll have to take care of. Looks like another unknown guy is in there. And we do have all our aloe, and this basil here, as you guys can see, is also flowering. It's actually, I really wanted it to push out the flowers so that way we can collect the seeds from it as well. Moving over here, we do have a range of flowers growing with some new herbs. We have our spearmint here. We have our regular mint here. We got some jaguar marigold, some more Italian basil. This section here is going to be our zinnias. Next is our black creme tomatoes, and then our brown atomic tomatoes. So we'll also be working on getting these transplanted. Down here we have our hot pepper, our lemon hot peppers that we already started transplanting. Here is our common milkweed. Here is going to be our red and green bell peppers as well. Over here, as you guys see, we have a new addition, which is going to be our another type of hot pepper. As you guys can see, we have one right there that's ready to be harvested. We got a mixture of mammoth basil, some thyme. We have Italian basil. We have a marigold in here for the pollinators. We have another mammoth basil, and then we have our oregano. This is a little bit of a mixture of our herbs and also an addition hot pepper. So that way we kind of get a little bit of everything here in this pot. Over here we do have rosemary and thyme, and then another mint as well. You guys know how I am with my mint. Over here we do have our some of our red cauliflowers, some of our cantaloupe, along with some more. Here is the new seeds that we did start back at the end of March, and it only took these guys 5 days to germinate. Now they're ready to be transplanted into their own individual cups and pots. So we'll get those transplanted later on this week as well, get them adjusted. And then over here is another one of our mammoth basils. It has gotten bigger. Another plant we do need to add some neem oil to, that we'll end up doing later as well. Now, moving outside the greenhouse, we do have more aloe. And we do have a random pepper coming up here in our pot with our aloe. This happens if we mix compost and there's seeds in that compost, and it gets put into the soil. So you'll see things like that at times when reusing your compost. Now, really quick, I wanted to show you guys something different that I ended up doing with our rain catcher. Because as you guys know, we do catch our water from our greenhouse that runs off the gutters into our rain barrels and things like that. So I'm going to flip you guys around and show you the changes we kind of did here. So as you guys can see, we had that long tubing going down, but it ended up breaking in the middle because of the weight of the water. The caulk did not hold it in place. So what I did here was take a T-hose from our old swimming pool, attached it to here. I have one pipe going in there. Now, as you can see, there is yellow stuff floating at the top of that. That is going to be neem oil to help keep the mosquitoes out of it. And it's a tree frog. Anyways, then over here we have this one where both hosing is going into our rain barrel as well. So we're catching double the water. As you guys can see, it hasn't really rained a whole lot, so there really isn't a whole lot of water in our green container, just like within this container. Once it rains, we'll be able to catch more. We've already cleared out the gutters, so that way we could catch all the water we can. Now, as you guys remember, we did finally finish up the chicken run that we built. We did add hay into the chicken coop, so there is hay in there. As you guys can see, they're definitely getting bigger. They will follow around the outside of the pen as I walk around it. As you guys can see, they'll follow around it. They say, "Mama, we know you got food," even though Mama does not have food. We did also install an automatic door opener, so that way we don't have to worry about letting them out or putting them back in. They'll automatically know when it's time to go in when it gets dark. Now, that pen is separate from our transitional pen that we built. We'll get to that here in a second. Alright, so now we are here at the big garden area. As you can see, we did remulch majority of the big garden area. We still have areas along here and up this way that we still need to mulch, as you'll notice as I move through this garden. But as you can see, you are able to identify our plants a lot better, see what's growing in the garden currently. Currently here in front of me, we do have red acre cabbage. A lot of this we did just transplant. That is one that we've had in here for quite some time and still growing. There is our red Russian kale. It's actually pretty good, especially when you mix it in with salad. We have some onions growing here. We have one garlic that is taking to its area pretty well. The other garlics did not, unfortunately. Over here we do have our celery that's growing. I have to say, they always say change up the spot on what you grow and where you grow it. To take a key point from our celery here, it doesn't seem to be growing as fast here than it did over here this last time, because over here that's where it was this last season, was over there, but instead I moved it to over here. But it just doesn't seem to be growing as fast and as big as it did over there in the other area. So I think I'll have to keep the celery. Once this celery is done, I think I'll move it over to that area, so that way it'll grow a lot better for us. It's still growing, don't get me wrong. It's just not growing as fast as I would like it to. And that's with us fertilizing. So moving on. So here is our evergreen onions. They are growing beautifully. Now, other than the evergreen onions, you're probably wondering, Selena, why are these plants in pots instead of already in the ground? Well, when it comes to game planning on where I want to put things, I put things out here in pots first to see, okay, do I want this here? Will it get shaded? Will it get blocked by the other plants? And things like that. So currently we have Dilophias pansies, and then our kale moving on down that way. I want to add flowers in between each plants, so that way it helps bring in more of those pollinators. As you guys can see, we have our rosemary there, and then we have some of our hot peppers that we stored in our greenhouse lined up right here. So we're keeping the hot peppers and the bell peppers kind of in the same area that we did have them last year. Look, here is another kale that we're still growing from over winter and over fall, and it's still growing and we're still getting a hold of it too. Now, moving over in this section, we haven't finished mulching in it. This is kind of one of the areas that we need to add mulch to. We have Brussels sprouts. We have our mini romaine lettuce in here as well. And it's still growing, still doing good. This plant actually right here got tore up by rabbits. So it's seen better days, but it's still growing. It's still doing good. So I'm not going to fuss with it too much. Over here is going to be where our sweet peas are growing. They have been growing since fall when I put them in here. They say that they are a cold hardy plant, so I'm hoping they'll grow more and blossom more when it comes time, once it gets warmer and that, but we'll kind of dive into that here in a second. Now here is our nursery area. As you guys see, we have a lot of plants out here, ranging from herbs to our fruits and veggies. This is where all our plants go to transition to either from here to our big garden area or from here to some of our events that we attend. Speaking of events, we do have an event coming up on April 27th at the Havana Market by the Tobacco Museum. So keep a lookout for that, as we will be there. Moving on over here, as you guys can see, we still have a lot more mulching to do as I get over here. But as you guys can see, we have a Canaan lilies growing there. We added some tomato plants already in here. We do plan on taking a stake from this to this to hold up here, and then add string to go down, so that way we can have the tomatoes growing on string instead of individual stakes. Now, over here we do have another Canaan lily. Here is going to be some of our cantaloupes. Now cantaloupes, they're struggling a little bit so far. We've lost 2 of them already here, as you can see. That's what happens when you don't water the first 5 days of transplanting them. Another thing that does happen is them being fried by the sun, especially if they don't transition into it very well. And that seemed to be the case here. But thankfully they are bouncing back. They are getting better. They've seen better days for sure. We're not done yet, but it'll be a work in progress. This actually used to be our old bed frame before it broke, and then I decided to turn it into our cantaloupe trellis. So stay tuned for that. Keep posted. Here's going to be our broccoli. I am flowering it to collect the seeds, so that way I have seeds for next year. Over here we do have our gladiuses, and this one actually, this gladius I put here last season and it died off, but thankfully has came back. Key note with gladiuses, even though they die back during the winter, if they're kept warm and that in the ground with mulch and all that around them, they will actually come back for you the following season once it starts to warm up. So if you have gladiuses, just because they die, don't think they're totally gone out of the garden. There's bulbs inside that ground that they're going to reproduce out of and come out of. But anyways, enough about gladiuses. But really quick, before I show you our next plant, this plant actually stayed with us through the whole winter, didn't move to the greenhouse or anything, and it actually survived the whole winter. And they're not meant to. They're actually meant to die off during the winter and then not come back at all. So it was a very quiet surprise when this came back and started to bloom. But do keep in mind, we did cover it up a lot during the winter, and then once I seen that it had died off, I just quit covering it because there was nothing left to cover. It was kind of pointless because it had totally died off. Well, let's go ahead and check it out. So here we do have our petunias. As you can see, they are fully blossomed. They've been growing really well. Their stems are nice and strong, and they smell great. Now alongside of them is our blueberries. As you guys can see, they're already producing loads and loads of blueberries. Even this one over here is producing loads and loads of blueberries. This one over here is also doing it. It's also showing a lot of new growth too. So that's definitely exciting to see. All right, now over here is going to be our transitional pen that we did build in a single day. This got put together so that Miss Tweety here can get out of that small little tote and get into her own pen until she gets bigger to go with the others. Along with her, we have both a blackberry bush, a raspberry bush, and then we do have our muscadine grape right here. Now, a few people have asked, Selena, aren't you concerned with her getting a hold of your muscadine grape or your blackberry bush? Thankfully, Tweety really doesn't mess with the muscadine grape or the blackberries. She actually kind of sticks to everything that's inside her pen. She doesn't really target the grape or anything. As you can see, she's in tune with what I'm doing here because I'm near her cage. She thinks she's a parrot at times. She will literally sit on your shoulder and sit there. Literally. But as you guys can see, our muscadine grape is growing out. It is getting bigger. A lot of the times what we have to do is we have to train it to go in the direction we need it to go to cover this whole fencing. It is showing to grow some leaves. We don't see any new buds on it, except for, like, let's see here. If you guys can see, they're so small, it's so hard to get. But right here on these ends right here are little buds, if you guys can see it there, are the buds that the grapes are going to come out of. As you guys can see there, looky there. That's where the grapes are going to come from on the muscadine. Now here on the blackberry, we do have several different shoots coming out where blackberries are going to come out at. This thing has gotten a lot of food through the winter and things like that to feed it, so that way when it comes time to produce, it's going to be able to produce for us. And as you guys can see, there's flowers on these right here, and if you look right here, there's one right there that is already starting to form. I'm hoping our raspberry will do the same thing, but who knows. All right, now moving over this way, we did add more mulch to our blackberries over here. Some of them actually are starting to form. That one isn't, but this one is, matter of fact. See right here, it's forming something there. Not sure if it's going to be the berries that are going to produce there, or if it's just pushing out more stems for more leaves in that. But it is producing. It looks good. No, not a whole lot of harshness coming on to it. Now, we have had these for about a year, so I am hoping that we do get something from them this year, as that would be heck of exciting if you guys ask me. But as you guys can see, that's going to be our blackberries with the new mulch added around them. Alright, so moving forward, we are now in the front yard. We're pretty much going to go over the fruit trees and the trees that we have up here. So let's go ahead and take a look. So here is our Florida King peach tree. As you guys can see, it's already producing peaches. This tree is over a year old, as fruit trees won't normally produce until after they're a year old, if not older, depending on the situation. But that one is producing. This is going to be the Florida King peach tree. Over here is going to be a hibiscus that one of our neighbors gave to us. It's actually a flower, produces a lot of pretty flowers. Over here we have an avocado. This is going to be a persimmon, and another persimmon tree right there as well that was given to us by our neighbor. This is going to be our Florida King peach tree. So you got the king and then you got the prince. Now we just need the queen. Looks like here, well, it doesn't look like, this is going to be our banana trees. They are starting to form new leaves on there. They're looking good. We just added fertilizer to them not too long ago. As more new leaves push out, older leaves will die off. And that's why you kind of see the different color in those leaves. Now, over here is our Satsuma. It did survive the whole winter without needing to be covered up the whole time, which was actually very surprisingly. She's been doing good. She's been growing. She's got a lot of new growth. So I'm definitely happy with her. Moving on over here, if you guys remember, we started this area for sunflowers, but I ended up transplanting some elephant ears over here. And surprisingly, we actually do have if I just would come out here and weed, which I probably will be doing here soon. But as you guys can see, we have some elephant ears popping up over here. Now, a lot of people said elephant ears don't like the full sun. Technically, these guys aren't in the full sun all the time. They just get, after the morning sun, they get the sun. But they do have all the mulch on them, so they are staying hydrated through the sunlight process, which is good. You definitely want them to be able to stay moist because they like a lot of water. Now, moving on, no-see-ums are eating me alive today. Moving on, we have our new plum tree. We recently did get this plum tree. It hasn't produced anything yet. It's still young, I think. I don't know if we'll get anything this season from it or not, but who knows? We'll see. Up here we have one of our golden Dorset apple trees. It did flower. We had some issues with some worms, as you guys can see here. But we did get it sprayed down with some neem oil to help prevent the worms from eating on it anymore. So thankfully, no new worms yet. Thank goodness. Moving on, over here is going to be another one of our apple trees. As they say, you want 2 apple trees so that way they can fertilize each other, even though they are self-fertile. This one is the Shimmer apple tree. We got all these around the same time as those as well. Now these other ones I'm about to show you, we got these later after we already got these. This is actually going to be our grapefruit citrus tree, and as you guys can see, it's got tons and tons of different grapefruit already on it producing. So we'll see how many actually survive intake over this grow season. Now over here is not going to be another citrus tree. This one is actually going to be our lemon tree. Still very small. Don't think we'll get anything from it this year. It'll probably be next year we get something from it. The next one up here is going to be our another one of our tangerine trees. It does have a few here and there that are producing, which is really awesome to see. But we'll see. As you guys can see, it definitely has some new growth going on too, so that's awesome to see. Now forgive me on our flower bed area. I've been so focused on the other areas that I have not been able to deal with these other areas yet. But I'm gonna go ahead and show you our flower area. And when I say flower area, I do mean our flower bed in the front yard. This is one of our new roses that we did get. This is actually going to be a Tropicana rose. And she's gotten bigger. She's getting ready to issue out a new bloom. Once I'm done showing you guys this area, I'll show you guys a few pictures of the blooms that we already got already. Moving down, all these you guys already know about. These were not plants that we put in here. These were plants that were already put in here when we moved in and bought the house. Our knockout roses are doing good. They don't really work too well to make my rose water. They smell great, but they don't work all that great for rose water because their scent isn't that strong. But they're beautiful. They're great to have. I love the scent that they do put off. So that's one of the reasons why they're still around. Now, like I said, guys, forgive the area because we really need to focus on this area next. As you guys can see, we got a lot of weeds. Knockout roses have been doing good. They're producing good. This is one of our white roses that we recently did get as well. It's a Bolero. It's still growing. It's got a lot of new growth to it. No new blooms as of yet, but it will bloom soon. Like I said, I'll show you some pictures of the blooms at the end of this video, so stay tuned. Alright, moving on. This is going to be another one of our Tropicana roses, except it's a peach color rose. No new blooms from it, but we definitely have some new growth coming from it, which is awesome. So, new growth means eventually new blooms. Now, over here, our Canaan lily did die off. But remember guys, with Canaan lilies, they always come back next year. So even if they die off, they're gonna come back the following year, because that's just what they do. They're almost like elephant ears. They need a lot of water, but they like the full sun. That's probably the only difference. But we got our Canaan lilies growing. These are going to be some of a few new plants that we put in. This is going to be one of the heirloom hybrid tea roses that we did get. It is starting to bloom and they do smell amazing. We did find a marigold in here that's regerminated and growing beautifully. So we'll have some marigolds. Here is another one of those, another rose. This is a fragrant plum rose, and it is growing slowly. It hasn't shown a whole lot of new growth as of yet, but as you guys can see, the purple leaves are going to be the new growth. Here is going to be another one of our gladiuses. As you guys can see, the leaves were chopped off. Mowman was over here mowing, didn't think anything was here, but there actually was. Over here we do have another marigold, and then I did save the best for last. So here is another one of our roses. This is going to be the Showbiz rose. We already had one bloom from it already, and it's very beautiful, and it smells beautiful. As you can see, it's got a lot of blooms to it that's going to pop out here soon, so I'm excited for that. Over here, as you guys can see, this area needs to be taken care of as well, but we do have some Canaan lilies growing here, here, and here as well. Which is amazing. Keep in mind, Canaan lilies will come back every year. If you don't have a green thumb and everything and anything you plant dies off, a Canaan lily, it will be your best friend for life, I promise. They die, but they come back. When I first started gardening, the Canaan lily that I just showed you all was my first Canaan lily. Was my first plant I ever started with. So once it died off, I was so upset about it, but then it came back. So it's like, okay, this is a plant I can kill and it'll be okay. So this is where I can really learn my do's and don'ts, especially with Canaan lilies. So it kind of started from there, and then it gradually went up. But guys, that's going to be it. I've showed you the front garden area, our fruit trees, the back garden. I've showed you everything. I'm going in. Getting ate up by no-see-ums is not any fun when you don't have any pants on. So when no-see-ums are out, wear pants. You won't get ate up. Key point. But until next time, guys, stay tuned, and you guys stay amazing, stay growing, and deuces.